Okay, so hello there. It's Paul Green from the business community. We're doing one of our business bulletins, the idea of which is just to update small business owners out there with, what's happening in the world, what's available to support them, and particularly during these troubled time, I guess any support out there that's useful. Is worth sort of like shouting about. So I'm joined by Adrian Spurrell today. So welcome, Adrian.
Hello.
So do you just want to say a little bit about who you are, who you are and what your business is?
Hey, so my name's Adrian Spurrell. I'm a director for the Red Thread Partnership Limited. We're a Milton Keynes based business. We do leadership and organisation development for some of the largest companies in the world through to very small local businesses. So size isn't an issue for us. We say our purpose is to help business leaders address the challenges, the big challenges of our time in the context of their business. And we do that typically through three particular ways. We do leadership development, we grow great teams, and we excite organisations. That's about staff engagement and culture change.
Okay, and how did the Red Thread Partnership come about? What was your journey to get to where you are today?
Oh, okay, wow. Well, Freddie and I, so Freddie's my business partner. We knew each other way on back when we were working for another consultancy. Both of us left that at various points, and that we stayed in touch. And it's really just through that. I mean, we did some great work actually for Marks and Spencer's together when we were in that consultancy. We did other work for other clients along the way, like Bupa, as we went our different paths. But when we came together, it was with one of our larger clients, Kerry Foods, and we were doing some work together there, and it just kind of carried on with why do we have two separate businesses? Why don't we just have one? And Freddie had chosen the brand name, the Red Thread. It's a brand name of mine, so we went with that. And the Red Thread is all about, there's lots of things. So Freddie's French, and when you talk about strategy, in England we often say, what's a golden thread running through it? But in France they say, what's the red thread running through it? So it's about strategic themes. But also we found that there's a Chinese proverb to do with it about when two people meet, there's a connection made between them that will stretch through time and space, a red thread that connects the two together, and they'll meet again at some point in the future. So kind of like that as well. So it's all about making connections.
Okay, excellent. So you said you work with large businesses and also small businesses as well. And I got introduced to you by a lady called Janthia, who's waving the flag out there for you for the Red Thread Fellowship Program. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. So do you want to say a little bit about what that is, and who it's aimed at, and how people get access to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the fellowship is something Freddie and I started just over 5 years ago now, and it's something that's very close to our hearts for lots and lots of reasons. What it is a year-long leadership development program. So as I said, earlier on, this is what we do commercially, and we're very good at it. But what we noticed is that in some communities, people end up marginalized, or they end up disenfranchised. I don't know how it is now, but certainly there was a time a few years back when you walked through Milton Keynes and you couldn't go through an underpass for a tent and somebody living there. The homeless situation had got so bad. And we wanted to kind of find a way of bringing communities together and making sure that people didn't get missed or left out, or pushed to the edges of their community. So what we do is we run this leadership development program, as I said, for a year, and we don't charge people cash for it. And what we do is we charge them time. And what we do is we say, if you're going to come on the program, you have to commit 1 hour a week of your time to help a charity in your community become more sustainable for the long term. Now, that does lots of things. For a start off, it gives some great support for charities. We've had some amazing people on the program, and they've created websites, they've reviewed contracts, they've installed new CRM systems, all sorts of amazing things that they've done for their charities, as well as just raise money for them. But for the person who comes on the program, working with a charity is often a very different experience. For start off, it's not your business, it's someone else's. You're stepping into a consultant role It's a not-for-profit compared with a for-profit. You're dealing with volunteers rather than not. So it's also a huge learning process in terms of what leadership can look like and what leadership in different organisations looks like. So as well as it starting to help the charities in your community, it's a great learning experience. And what we also find is that a lot of our fellows, as we call people who've been through the programme, they stay on with their charities. They do another year, they become a trustee, they become chair of trustees. We've got a number of chairs and vice chairs dotted around. Because businesses are great and they give money to charities. And please, 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 if you're a business that gives money to charity, carry on doing it. But sometimes that allows you to be comfortable and it allows you to be a bit further away from the problem. It salves your conscience. And, if we're really going to have inclusive and caring communities, business people need to recognise that businesses aren't separate from the communities where they're based, where their people live and work. And it helps really just close the circle of getting businesses really deeply embedded in their community and some of the charitable activities in their community that make it a really nice place to be and a caring place for those who are down on their luck or having a difficult time. So that's the concept. For small businesses, what we say is it's often the case with the small businesses that you'll have started off your business, it'll have grown, you've maybe got, 10, 40, 50, 100 people working for you maybe, but the chances are you've probably never done any formal leadership development because you've just been too busy getting your business up and going and running. It's a full-time job doing that. And so here's an opportunity to learn in a very different way, to do some good for your community, to give yourself a time out to just think about what you're doing and to get some support and help. And one of the things we really, really like is that we try to only take one person from a business. So we'll have up to 12 people on the program at any one time. And all of a sudden, you as a business leader will then find yourself in a group of within 11 other people who are in different but not dissimilar situations. They're running their businesses and they have no agenda. They're non-competitive. You've all come together with the sole purpose of learning and help each other be successful. And you can spend time talking to these people, swapping experience, picking each other's brains. And it's very, very rare that you get that kind of opportunity to work with some of your peers in that particular kind of way. So it's another part of what makes it, a really valuable learning experience and what makes it so brilliant for the people that come on it. Anyway, I've been ranting for long, so if you've got any questions on all of that, otherwise I can carry on going for a long time.
So it sounds like a byproduct of the training is actually you're almost like setting up a little mastermind group of those 12 delegates that are on it.
Well, it's not so much like a mastermind group. The whole learning program that runs for a year, it's just for those 12 people and at every workshop. So we have workshops. At the moment, we're doing them virtually, so it's one a month virtually because we make them just for 2.5 hours. But when we get back to being able to meet face to face and in person, they'll go back to being a whole day. And so those conversations, those masterminds, as you call them, mastermind groups, they happen on those days anyway, and we do the learning bit. And we talk about what's going on with charity, and it's just an opportunity to just talk about how to lead, manage, run organisations over a year. That has a big impact on the people that come. It has a big impact on the charity and hence your community. And you take all that learning back into your business, and it has a big impact on the business as well. So, it's a real win-win process that we put people through.
And within a business, within a small business, who's it typically aimed at? Who's an ideal sort of person to come on the workshop?
Depends on the size of the business. So we've had business owners come on it. So the person, it's your business, you run it. We've had second generation business owners. So, the parent is still there, still running it. You're second generation. You're maybe going to be taking it over in 2 or 3 years' time. You're starting to find your feet, maybe a bit of tension between you and the parent. So we've had some second generation people come on. Again, with small businesses, you might just be on the board. If you're a size where you've got a board of 4 to 6 people, you might just be one of those people. Or when we go and work with particularly professional firms, some of whom are, they're a decent sized business, will work at people who aren't partner but want to become partner, so directors or associate partners, whatever the business calls them, because it's a really useful way of getting them to just really build up their leadership skill ready for that step up. So it just springboards them into those partner positions. So again, that's another, if you're that size that you've got some good people who are just below partner level, then they're good to come on the program too.
Okay, and what sort of geographic location are you aiming at?
Okay, so the one in Milton Keynes is for Milton Keynes. So we're pretty generous when we say for Milton Keynes. So we say live or work within 50 miles of Milton Keynes, which is quite a big radius, but it is really centred on about the Milton Keynes and the community in Milton Keynes. We do run one for the University of Northampton in Northampton, and we run one again up in Oxford and Cambridge, where we've run them previously, but we're going to get Milton Keynes going again first this year. Obviously, they all took a bit of a stutter last year with a pandemic kicking off, but we finished the programs off, and in fact, Milton Keynes 4 last year, they did really, really well. I mean, they raised between 12 and £7,700 for their charities, as well as putting in some great projects for people. So it'll be Milton Keynes, 50 miles from Milton Keynes, get Milton Keynes up and going, and we'll look to Oxford and Cambridge then as well.
Okay, and I noticed that the course is ILM endorsed. So what does that mean to people? The fact that you've got that recognition.
Well, it's not a formal qualification. That's the first thing to say. So you're not going to come out with an ILM level 5 in leadership and management. But we wanted people to know that actually this is a great program. It is high quality. I mean, obviously, it's what we do commercially. But so we went to ILM and they said, okay, so what we can do is we can certify that it's a bona fide, a quality program. So that's what they've done. So unfortunately, that bit costs a little bit extra. But if you do come on the program and you want the ILM certificates, you can pay a small amount of money, and at the end of the 12 months, provided you come to the workshops and do the work, you'll come out with a certificate from the ILM saying you've attended a certified program.
Okay, excellent. And what's the application process, Adrian, if someone's interested in applying?
It's really that easy. So if people go to our website, that's the-redthread.co.uk, there's a tab there for the fellowship, and all the instructions are there. But essentially, you just email us a short resume about yourself, giving a bit of your history about the kind of job you're doing at the moment, why you think the coming on the fellowship would be good for you, and what's motivating you to come onto it. And then something about you as a person, and if you are doing any work with third sector at the moment, hobbies, interests you have, because what we do, we're frequently oversubscribed, and we will go through the list of people who've have applied. We often give them a quick ring and have a chat to them as well, and then we try and get a really good mix of people. So very different sectors, different ages, different experiences, so that it's a really rich group of people that come together. So yeah, getting early is the big thing. The earlier you get in, the more likely you are to get chosen.
Absolutely. And so in terms of the charities or organisations that the persons on the course work with, that's entirely up to them, is it? If they're already working with someone, it can apply to them, or if they're entirely new to working with that sort of sector, you could support them in choosing a charity, could you? How would that work?
Okay, well, the charity bit works quite is part of the learning. Needless to say, everything's part of the learning. So what we do is we actually go out and source the charities. If you are already working with somebody, we will of course look at that and look about giving you that option. But what we normally do is we will go to a number of local charities. So we're reaching out at the moment to people, both people we've supported previously who want to go again, and people we've never supported. And we ask them to, if they're up for the challenge. And it's quite important to check with the charity first, because if you're a small charity and you've been set up by a number of people, then the people who set up and run charities, they pour heart and soul into those organisations, and having someone come in and say, "Why do you do that?" can sometimes be quite uncomfortable. So we do just check that they're okay for a bit of challenge from our fellows. And also, We ask them to give us a short brief about, the kind of challenges that they've got on at the moment, what are some of their difficulties, the kind of things that the fellows might be able to do for them. On the first day of our launch workshop, we get the fellows and we give them all the briefs. So if we've got 12 fellows, we'll need 6 charities, but we typically have 9 or 10. And we'll say, okay, choose your 6 from those 9 or 10. And there's 2 reasons that we do that. One is that we want people to work with a charity that resonates with them, that really calls out to them, that they're excited about the idea, because a year's a long time. And what we do is, once they've chosen them, we ask them to pitch to the charity and say, look, this is who we are. They work in pairs. Now, this is who we are. These are the skills we bring. This is why we want to work with you. And we do give the charity the right to say no, because it needs to work for the charity too. And if they're uncomfortable about it, chances are it's not going to be brilliant. But that's not happened to date so far. I mean, it will one day, but to date, no charities said no. So the first reason we do the selection process the way we do is because we want people to want to work with each other, both from the charity side and from the fellow side.
Okay.
The other reason we do it is frequently the fellows find it quite difficult. So they'll have 2 or 3 charities they really, really want to work with or really, really want to support. And one of the biggest things you need to learn as a leader is you can't do everything. You have to make choices. You have to do choices, and you have to be quite rigorous about that. About this is where we're going to focus our time and energy, because that's where we'll get the best return. So it's also an exercise in making great decisions, and obviously it's a decision that they live with for a year. So we can go back at various points in the year and say, that decision you made, how's it turning out now? And what do you know now, and how might you make that decision differently? And again, it's not often you get an opportunity. Lots of organisations say they do project reviews, but most of them tend to forget to do that. So it just gives the learners an opportunity to go back and revisit that decision and really check that they did a good decision and how's it working for them.
Absolutely. And how many people have passed through the fellowship so far, Adrian?
Oh, but you're going to ask me that question, and I haven't got numbers. I think we've had about 60 people so far.
Okay.
We've raised over £50,000. We've worked with a whole bunch of different organisations and about 30 charities. So our cohort's growing slowly but surely, and we're looking forward to our 100th fellow at some point soon. But yeah, it's just our little way of saying, actually, business doesn't have to be ruthless. Business can be competitive by all means, but it's also about recognising you're part of the community, and that community needs to be inclusive and caring for your good and for the good of everybody in that community. It just ripples out. It makes it a nicer place. It reduces crime. It just takes the dissatisfaction and marginalisation out of that community. The more inclusive and caring we can become.
Okay. And how is the whole project funded? Are the sponsors for this this year course?
Yeah, it's been mostly run off just by Freddie and I doing it. So all of the tutors that work on the program, so when we run out in Oxford, Cambridge and elsewhere, they give their time for free. So everybody gives their time for free. When we have physical workshops, and we often would get venues given to us for free. So we've had fantastic support from people like Parks Trust and Freeths, who allow us office space where we can just go hold the workshops. But we do have costs. So, everybody comes on the program. Well, there we go. There's the camera. Gets one of these. It's a workbook. It's quite a substantial piece. And they cost money to print. So we've been very fortunate to be sponsored by Freeths for some time. They've been helping us with that. But also hugely, hugely thankful to the University of Northampton, who gave us a sponsorship deal for 2 years. We're just in the second half of the second year with that. And they've been absolutely brilliant with the support that they've given us. We've run in-house programs for their staff as well. And that's made a really big difference for us over the last couple of years. We are about to run out of that. So if anybody does want to sponsor the program, then please do let us. The OU did give us a small sponsorship as well at one point. So various people have helped. And, if you do sponsor, we will get you on the banners and materials. And obviously we will tell people about it as we go around. So yeah, if anybody's watching who wants to sponsor the program, then please, we'd be very, very grateful. Our costs aren't huge, but there are some.
Yeah, sure. And when's the next intake, Adrian? When's the next workshop start? The next course?
Okay, we are currently open at the moment. We're waiting for people to get in touch with us. So we've had a couple of applications, so they are starting. So please get in touch soon. And our hope is that we'll start that just after Easter. We're just kind of hesitating on the timing because, you know, touch and go. We might be back to meeting properly after Easter. We might not. Who knows? And also our start date tends to slightly depend on the people, because we obviously want a date when everybody can turn up. So we try and organise it for everybody to be free. So yes, please get in touch. Sooner the better, and then then we can get going just after Easter.
And is it one session a year, one workshop a year, or how do you do that?
We run one cohort a year. So for Milton Keynes, we will run it once. There will be 12 people on that. We have a 2-day launch workshop where we start off, and then when we're meeting face to face, we meet every other month for a 1-day workshop, and each of those workshop days is themed around a particular aspect of leadership. And right at the very end, we have a celebration and just recognise, you know, what you've done, the difference that you've made, and we invite the charities in, and that's a really special occasion. And just look at and give people their graduation certificates for completing their year. So yeah, it runs for a year. Workshops every other month. The first one is 2-day one, and then 1 day every 2 months until we get to the end of the year.
Super. I mean, it's an excellent initiative, Adrian. It must have a massive impact on those charities that you work with, and I think it's a great way of bringing, you know, the business and community together, isn't it? By doing something like that, as you said earlier, it's a win-win situation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's we work with MK Snap, we've worked with Spinal Association, we've worked with Hazard Alley, all sorts of people, and they all have very different challenges. They're all very different sizes, but you know, certainly the pandemic last year, there was a lot of a short-term release of funds, but generally funding for charities went down last year. The public have been amazing and stepped up and supported, so there's been quite a lot of virtual events raising money for charities, but they're going to find it really hard this year because some of the money that got given in by way of emergency funding last year is actually coming from this year, and so some of those grant givers will be seeking to rebalance things a bit. So yeah, and I mean, charities play an enormously important role in our communities, and again, the pandemic has highlighted exactly how important they are. Perhaps too important, some might argue, but that's a whole other debate. But you know, times are hard. People need support, and our humanity demands it of us that we do try and help people out in whatever way and through whatever means, so that support's there. Because you know, for many of us, actually, the distance between being at home and feeling comfortable and being on the streets wondering what the hell hit us is about 3 months not being paid. And that's quite a frightening thought for a lot of people, and to know that there are people out there who care and will support you in those circumstances, it's good to know. So it's a great opportunity to learn, to help the charities, to help them make the difference, to make our communities better. You know, it's just positive all the way around.
No, absolutely. Well, I think we might as well, unless anything else you wanted to add, Adrian. I think we've pretty much covered it. It sounds like a great initiative. So if we can help you get to the next dirty dozen, sorry, my words, not yours, a nice number to have. And it's great that they're going to be putting all that effort back into the charities. So I think, as you said, it's the-redthread.co.uk, and then follow the link to the Red Thread Fellowship course. So thank you very much for your time today, Adrian.
Well, thank you.